Okay, you can start it. You son of a bitch. Jody Mitic Podcast. Hold fast. Coffee? Zajammans?
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Legit. Broing down. Jody Mitic Podcast. Some long range shooting. Sniper rifle. 18-inch 308 guns and bullets and that. Eventually, one day, it's coming up.
It's gonna swell.
It's going to swell up.
Yeah.
So we're good. We were going to go shooting today.
What's my escape plan?
The zombie apocalypse. There's wild turkeys around here. I'm on team people. Not because I'm a communist. Okay, so anyway, I'm a history geek. I should know this. Anyway, just wow.
Yo, turn me up my headphones, son.
Right?
Give me some more bass.
More snare?
So
More snare?
Like, yeah, let me hear that pop.
There we go.
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
So, how we doing?
Doing very well.
Good. So, today is October 10th,
Yes, sir.
2019. Yeah. Here we are at the Podcast Wagon Studios. We got the Duke on the turn. You got the Duke on the wheels of steel.
That's right.
Wicka, wick, whack. We got some fine coffee. Do we need to mention who made the coffee, or is it just like coffee today?
This is it's Black Rifle coffee.
That delicious Black Rifle coffee.
Yep.
I wish it was cheaper to get in Canada.
Oh, I know. Tell me about it.
I mean, we got some reps up here now, but man, it's just like it's hard to justify my budget when I'm on a pretty strict budget now because of the life changes and everything.
Yep.
Working for myself 100% right now, and I'm not going to mention what name brand. But
Yeah.
for $6 a kilo, I got coffee that tastes just as good as anything else we've ever drank.
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
Wait, it was $7.45 for a 1.5 kilo the other day.
Okay. Yeah, that's reasonable.
So,
Yeah.
hard to argue, man. And Kelly and I, every morning, we sip. We're like, this is like the first time we had it. We're like, all right, we'll just drink it because we're on a budget. And we drank it. We're like, there's nothing wrong with this. This is delicious.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. Like I enjoy when it's really great coffee and things like that, but the amount of pleasure is not the same as the amount of increased dollars.
Yeah,
It's,
I think if you drink coffee every day, that's when you want to go out and buy maybe expensive coffee.
Right.
Oh, no, wait, sorry. What did I just say? If you drink it every day.
Yeah.
No, you can't drink expensive coffee. It's like scotch, right? Like when I used to drink scotch, I had a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue.
Yeah.
And I had a bottle of Johnny Walker Gold.
Mm-hmm.
You drink 2 fingers of that and and then you go, now all scotch will taste like shit.
Right.
It all tastes the same after the first glass, really.
Yeah.
So then that's when you go to the Johnny Black or Red.
Right.
Right. You just go,
Yeah.
okay, well, what kind of company do we have? Blue, gold, black, or red, right?
Yep.
With coffee, I find it's kind of the same. There are certain brands, there are certain company, in Canada, we have a few different local cafes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And some are bitter.
Yeah.
Some are smooth. Funny enough, McDonald's in Canada has some delicious coffee. Not to say I'm not supporting McDonald's at all, though sausage and egg McMuffins are the ruin of my waistline. But
Of course. Yeah, I like their coffee.
it's all right, eh?
Yeah.
And here's what I heard back in the day when McDonald's. Remember, late '90s, early thousands. You're way younger than me. You might not remember this, but apparently McDonald's stole Tim Hortons' supplier.
Yes.
Or
I
were you the one who told me
something
this
about-
story?
I might have told you about that.
Yeah, and then McDonald's, all of a sudden, everyone's like, oh, McDonald's has good coffee. And Tim Hortons kind of went down. But recently, we used to bitch about this on the show, I think. The Tim Hortons wasn't
Right.
good
Yeah.
since it got bought by Burger King and then that Brazilian... Anyway.
Yeah.
They're coming back. Kelly and I stopped at Timmy's this morning.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good.
Good again, yeah.
I haven't had it for a long time.
Yeah, just go in there, but be very specific about what you want because for some reason they are unable to contemplate. Would you only want one cream or two? I'm not sure. Everyone else gets a double.
Right.
Or a single. Okay,
Yeah.
I want a single. Oh, you meant double cream, one sugar, no sugar. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's it's the vernacular. It's Canadian vernacular. Some people have trouble with it.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah. So I was just listening to some radio talk about the election.
Okay.
How you
Yeah.
feeling? Do you even track that stuff?
I not much, because most of what I hear is just people talking shit about the other guy, not actually what people are like going to do, what their plan is, and like how they're gonna move forward. It's just talking shit about whoever the opposite person is.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing in a country that has one of the strongest economies and human rights and democracy? Like, we have a very strong, despite certain actions by people in government, our governmental system gives the prime minister a lot of power,
right?
Which they rarely actually exercise,
right?
Frankly, but you know, I think you're right. You know, when I ran in my election, I didn't talk about my opponents ever.
Right?
Why would I? Why do I want to say someone else's name? And you know, I was listening, and I don't want to get too political. I'm trying a new thing with the show where, you know, we want to talk to people. We don't want to rail at people. I don't want to lecture. I don't want to rant. But, you know, I was listening, and in Canada, we have right now, I think there's 6 parties that are running to be prime minister.
Right.
Only 2 of them really have a chance. There's a third one that is, it's Orange. And its leader is a exciting young guy. Probably, I think he's younger than me, maybe in his 30s, from Brampton, where I grew up. But what does it mean to you? What would a leader do for a country? Like, how am I? Hang on, let me rephrase that. A leader doesn't talk about what's wrong with others.
Yeah.
This is my opinion. And, you know, down in the States, as much as I try and give the Americans, because I love America and I love my American brothers and sisters that I fought next to in Afghanistan and other things, our systems, both of our systems, are in a little like pointing at each other about whose fault things are.
Right.
And then I just heard one of the candidates for prime minister say, it doesn't matter if this side wins, I would never work with them.
Right.
And that's basically like saying that's half of Canadians, because that's almost half of us will vote for them, or half of us will vote for the other team, and then the rest, what's left, votes for the other 4.
Yep.
That's not leadership to me.
No.
How does someone are you trying to win over your team or Canadians?
Right.
That's what you got to think about.
Right. Yep.
In any situation. And, you know, I couldn't help but think, like, thank goodness the generals, the colonels, lieutenants, the sergeants, like, could you imagine if I was in Afghanistan and they went, well, you're going to have to go work with this country or this unit or whatever. And I went, I refuse to work with them.
Yeah.
Well, we're all pulling on the same rope, Jody. What's the problem? No. They did this wrong. They did that wrong. They did this wrong. And one time they tweeted something that I don't like. So there's no way I would ever work with them.
Yeah.
Does that seem like leadership?
Doesn't
now,
really
to
get
my
there.
sniper team, that might seem like leadership.
Right.
But that's, you know, I don't believe it is. If you want to lead someone, it's your job to figure out a way to work with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, you can't pick and choose who you're going to work with based on what you like, because guess what? Nobody else thinks like you.
That's right.
And because the team you represent, trust me, bro, you're never going to be prime minister.
Right.
Okay. So why would you go ahead and dismiss a large part of the population that just because they don't think exactly like you?
Yeah.
It seems very juvenile. It seems a very privileged position to take. It seems very assumptuous, arrogant, and frankly dismissive of anyone else. And I don't care if you're liberal, conservative, progressive, leftist, rightist, whatever. If you want your views heard, you have to talk to everybody.
Right.
It's a very narrow-minded, spoiled attitude that says, I don't have to. Mm-hmm. No, actually, yeah, you do. You know, maybe it's a result of some of the things that are going on down south, which, you know, bleeds into our politics now. But, you know, when it comes to leadership, I always believed that as the leader, it's what's best for my people.
Yeah.
So my snipers. So if I had to go in somewhere but At the same time, if I had to go in somewhere, and in my book, I think I even talk about this. My book is Unflinching: The Making of a Canadian Sniper, available on Amazon and at all bookstores near you. You can't. I was asked to go and work somewhere in the area of operation, and then I actually faced this. My sniper team, they said, "Well, how do we know we can trust these guys?" And I went, "Well, they're an allied unit." And I kind of I feel, and I wrote about this and I contemplated this a lot because it was the first time I'd ever dealt with one of my subordinates saying, "No,
right,
I don't want to work with these people," and I went, well, you're gonna, because I said so. And then I went back and I thought about it and I went, well, it is someone whose opinion I valued. It is someone who I've worked with since I was brand new. Him and I went through training together and everything. So it's not like I didn't think he had a valid point. But what I think, because of my position being in the leadership of the team and him being, a subordinate, he didn't see the overall implication of what saying no once could do to our reputation. A, and then B, also, what if a sniper team in that location is the difference to win or lose?
Right.
And, you owe it to the people that you're working with, even if you don't like them, to try.
Yep.
For example, there is this guy who I hated since basic training. I hated him. He the biggest reason is because during training, he did a negligent discharge of a blank round, thank goodness, literally in my ear.
Oh, yikes.
He was so unaware of his surroundings that I heard him behind me fiddling with his weapon, doing the things that, nothing sounded bad right up until he pulled the trigger.
Right.
But when you pull the trigger, so basically he was checking to see if he had a round in his chamber without removing the magazine. Mm-hmm. Common mistake, actually. So you pull back, you open up the chamber, you look in, there's no bullet in the chamber.
Right.
But there's one in the magazine, and you just opened up the chamber, and now the bolt is back, and the bolt's going to grab the first round and put it in the chamber.
Yep.
And that's basically what he did. Because the first move of checking your weapon to see if it's loaded is to unload it.
Right.
That's the first thing you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you know it's unloaded, you check anyway.
Yep.
So anyway, not that big a deal, but I later on had to work with this guy. Him and I had a fist fight later. We'd kick the shit out of each other. And that was pretty funny. It was over a muffin.
Of course it was.
Yeah, I did not like him.
Yeah.
I was really mean to him from that day forward.
Right.
I wanted nothing to do with him. But 2 years later, we're out in the middle of the woods in a hole together because that's just how it worked out.
Right, yeah.
And so I had a decision to make. I could be a little prick and I could be all spoiled and say, no, I don't want anything to do with this idiot. Or I could give him the benefit of the doubt and do my best to the job, nowhere in the description of infanteer does it say you need to like each other.
Right.
You just got to work together.
Yep.
And so we did. And it actually, because we didn't chit chat and because we didn't have anything in common, if we did, we didn't care. We actually got all our work done really fast.
Right. Yeah.
We dug our trench super quick. We got in there, set up our tent, set up our this. We were we almost actually tried to talk to each other because we had time.
Right.
But instead, I was stay on your side of the trench. I'll stay on mine. But, to me, it was that's always it doesn't matter how I feel about things. I have to make it work.
Right.
And that's the difference, I think, between the real world and this world we live in right now.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's the real world sometimes. I'll be listening to the news. So if anybody listening that doesn't know, we live in Ottawa, Canada, the capital of our country. We just opened up a brand new light rail system. 15, 20 years in the making, billions over budget, of course, because, the government has all kinds of our money to spend. And people are holding the doors open, causing 9-hour delays, shutting the system, all because they don't want to wait 4 minutes for the next train. There's no checks and balances in expectation. Everyone just expected it to work perfect.
Right. Yeah.
On day one.
Yeah.
And so, That's been the headline news in this city for like 2 weeks now. How awful this thing is, how it didn't work, and how this, and it's like, have you ever done anything that worked perfectly the first time?
Not even once.
For 1 million people.
No.
Go ahead, tell me. Yeah, that's the point. I'm like,
let me get my list of things that I recently did.
Let me tell you. And you know, and people have these expectations now that everything should just work because them.
Right.
They are going to be late. They this. Like, well, as a collective, everyone who you just messed over by holding the doors open and causing a shutdown of the train, that's not the team. Like, you're not helping anyone with that type of behavior. But that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
We have instant media. That's what I started calling social media instant media, because there's nothing social about it anymore.
Right.
I'm off Twitter. I'm off Facebook. True. I'm on Insta. But if anyone tries to get negative or insulting, I call them out and I delete them and I block them.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why. Go ahead. Go ask me why.
Why? Tell me why.
Because I can.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah.
My favorite line is like, well, I'm allowed to feel this way and say what I want. And I go, yeah. And I'm allowed to not listen to it and block you.
Yeah.
Like, if you can, people disagree with me all the time. What I won't stand and what I won't put up with, anyone telling me that I'm in a position of privilege, that I don't understand their life because, what, you think you understand mine? That, you know, it doesn't matter what I think because their life is harder, this and that. First of all, you live in Canada. The worst day in Canada could be better than the best day wherever you might be from.
Right.
Or where, trust me, you could be in Kurdistan right now dealing with Turkey.
Right.
You could be in a lot of places. Just living in Canada makes you part of the 1% of the world.
Yeah, true.
So, you know, that speech John F. Kennedy gave, that's, you know, the ask not what your country can do for you. Mm-hmm. See what you can do for your country. That resonates with me. Because if you want mommy and daddy to do everything, mommy and daddy will do everything. That's called a dictatorship.
Right.
That's called socialism. That's called socialism, where they decide the social order, whoever they are.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like it like makes me laugh that people that walk around with like, did you hear about the election sign that was put up where it said no liberals? We shoot every second liberal and the first one just left or something like that.
No, I didn't see that.
What was it? I was like, we shoot every fourth liberal and the third one just left.
Oh.
So don't come to the door is what they were saying. It's like that kind of attitude is, first of all, you're talking about fellow citizens.
Yeah.
Which you want to murder. So like, what, you just got a stack of innocent people in your backyard who just happen to think differently?
Right.
Really great. Really great. Where was I going with that? But that's this attitude, though. This attitude of like, we're the only ones that are right.
Yeah.
Going back to someone who wants to be leader of my country. He wants to be a lead. He wants to run my country. Oh, I would never talk to anyone who thinks like you. That's basically what he said to people.
Yeah, that'll never work.
What? How do you win? That's not a winning strategy. Strategy and tactics. His strategy should be to kiss everyone's ass.
Right.
If he really wants power, he needs to kiss 51% of the Canadian population's ass.
Right.
And basically what he's done is he's taken half of the people that vote and told them to F off.
Right. Yeah.
Just like, I don't even need to talk to you.
Not
I can just do whatever I want. I don't, and I hate that. I hate it because it doesn't lead to progress.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Like, how are you going to get anything done if all you want to do is just argue and like steal each other's ideas and tell each other like, you're wrong and you're the reason everything sucks. That's what they do now. Like you said, right? They just point at each other. They go, well, you did that. Oh, yeah? Well, your government did this. Well, when your government was in charge, it's like, hey, whoa, is it 2019 or is it 1950?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, who really gives a shit about what happened last time? How are you going to do better this time?
Yeah, exactly.
Every bound on the battlefield is fraught with 50, like every morning, basically a soldier wakes up and flips a coin and goes, well, 50-50, I live.
Right.
That's our lives. So imagine if we did the same thing. And people do. That's why World War I cost so many lives.
Right.
Because, well, how are we going to take this trench? They got like a machine gun. Oh, they only got one machine gun? Just send the boys. Okay, well, the boys are dead. Oh, fuck. Well, I mean, oh, darn. Well, I guess we just try it again.
Yeah. Bigger
And-
group this time.
Yeah, just send more. They're going to run out of bullets eventually. Well, it's not like we have that many humans. And the reason I bring that up is because they had to learn. Like generals used to be, like ambassadors.
Right.
Right. Like Eisenhower ran Japan after World War II. Like he was basically dictator of Japan for America.
Right.
Right. And often, they would send military units out to far-flung places under the command of an individual who said, you know what, you give me this ability to speak in your name. I will go out and make friends or enemies or find stuff to bring back to you. But you think, and some of them, like a lot of the Spanish conquistadors, they conquested and they just killed everything.
Right.
And then there was eventually the British, though, they evolved into a way where they tried to negotiate their way in. And then fighting became just part of what would happen usually because no two sides ever want to give. Right. But compromise is all a part of it, of leadership, leadership at the end of the day is more or less compromise with the world around you. If you want to put it down to the individual basis, like if you don't get along with the world, look at your leadership of yourself, like take accountability and say, okay, well, what would happen if instead of ignoring this person, I just went over and said, okay, good morning, and what do you need help with?
Yeah.
Or hey, what was that thing you asked me to help you with last week? Maybe I can try now. Because even if you don't like each other, like, one thing that happened with this guy and I after we were in this trench together for, I think it was about 4 or 5 days, we didn't like each other at the end, but we had a certain amount of respect. Like I still didn't ever want to work with him.
Sure.
But I could.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I don't want to, but I can do this. My first trip to Afghanistan, I was in a job I didn't want to do, but I ended up being the best at it.
Right.
Because people relied on me, and that's what I want my reputation to be, a guy who mopes and cries because he doesn't get what he wants. Oh, mama, daddy didn't get the job he wanted, because that's what you ultimately sound like.
Right. Yeah.
I just wanted to like rant a little bit about that because I think the pendulum's coming back.
Right.
And when I say yes, I'm being very self-centered right now. Between you and anybody else here been overseas fighting terrorism? Anybody? No? Okay.
Just
me?
one man so far.
So I'm not saying that overqualifies me more than you, but what I'm saying is I've seen the result of the inability to compromise.
Right.
It's machine guns, bombs.
Yeah.
A guy just attacked a synagogue in Germany on Tuesday during Yom Kippur, I think.
Right.
They just had Yom Kippur, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. One idiot, and I guess he had a buddy who dropped him off, and he didn't, I can't remember if he even hurt anybody, but, one guy.
Yeah.
During Yom Kippur this time in Germany, right? Right, kind of like the epicenter of anti-Jew
right.
back in the Dizay.
Yeah.
And they talk, it's headline news. But isn't that progress too?
Right.
When you think about it? And, his inability to compromise thinking leads to the mindset that, well, it's not my fault how my life is.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's got to be the Jews.
Yeah.
It's obviously the Jews.
Right, of course.
Okay. Like how so? Or just going to go ahead and try this, bro. Why don't you just pretend the Jews don't exist really and just live your life?
Right.
And by pretending they don't exist, I mean just ignore them. If they truly are an issue in your life, why they would target this individual, I don't know, but to make him want to go out and shoot a shotgun. Whether or not he was crazy to begin with, the beginning spark was, it's not my fault.
Right.
Or whether or not it's your fault or not, you're looking for blame.
Yeah.
So back to this guy who wants to run our country. So the other thing I heard him talk about was, my life's a struggle because I'm the only not white guy here, and this, and it's like, well, dude, I grew up in the city you grew up in. You didn't want for anything.
Right.
Settle down.
Yeah.
Right. And wouldn't the people voting for you want someone who can look past so-called, deficiencies or handicaps or just perception and say, well, how does it feel to be the only non-white candidate and this and that? And I'm a candidate.
Yeah.
I'm a candidate for prime minister. What does it matter what color I am? What does it matter? What does it matter where I come from? In this country, anyone, we have ministers in our government right now that were born in other countries.
Right.
Is that not success? Is that not progress?
Yeah.
Is that not like good?
Yeah.
I think so. And by the way, that's not that unusual in Canada. The founding fathers of Canada, pretty sure most like 90% of them weren't even Canadian to begin with. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I'm a little rusty.
Sure.
You know, so I just wanted to talk to people a little bit and say, like, you know, I'm trying to get this out. I'm trying to put my thoughts in order, but during your day, I want you to go about and think about, what can I do to make my tiny little sphere of influence better, rather than being, you know, like earlier I was basically shit talking the Tim Hortons people,
Right.
and you know what though, when you think about it, how hard do you really think it is to sling coffee at a place like Tim Hortons?
Right.
I think it's actually probably pretty stressful at the end. If you take the job seriously,
Right.
and if you take your training seriously and you look, and now, by the way, everyone, stress is okay.
Yeah.
Trauma can be a benefit because it prepares you for something bigger.
Right.
If you've never been traumatized or stressed out, you're a disaster as a human being.
Yeah.
Once again, going back
That's
to the
right.
Matrix, life was perfect in the first Matrix, and they had to shut it all down and reboot with conflict and all kinds of things.
Right.
Because if we don't have, if your life's too good, you're going to look for something that's wrong.
Right.
How else do you sip an $8 latte, use an $1,100 iPhone to tweet about how injustice is being served to you somehow because one time some guy looked at you sideways? You want to know? Look, I'm a blue-eyed white boy. I've had people be racist against me since I was like 12 or 13, something like that.
Right.
I got called a white piece of shit in high school out of the blue. Right. Like, what did I do?
Yeah.
We were homies back in middle school. What's going on?
Right.
But hey, man, whatever. That's just the way things are. Some people have that view, you know. And I just feel like we're on a rail. If that makes, we're on the light rail system, right? And the tracks can keep going, or we can do these side trips and just waste time and money and effort and lives. And time is something we can never get back. So, you know, if I had to add up all the bad times in my life and all the good times, I feel like I'd be better. I'd have more good times because if you dwell on the bad times, they take over, which we just recently saw in my life.
Right.
I literally let the bad times take over. I went through a rough time and came out the other end. I'm like, this is it. I was, you know, at a subconscious level, and then eventually, you know, it'll be 13 years in January that I got hurt. It took 12 years or 10 years ish, but yeah, eventually I started blaming the bomb for everything in my life.
Right.
And then I started blaming other people, and I started pointing, and then the drugs and the booze, and then, you know, next thing you know, your life is over. Like, dude, I had to rebuild from less than zero. I mean, you know, you watched, but why go all that way if I can go there before you and just give you a little bit of a tip to say, hey man, look, I get it. Life's tough. Doesn't matter. You know, some people go, oh, billionaires this or millionaires that or upper middle class. It doesn't matter. You could be the poorest of the poor, the richest of the rich. You can have the exact same type of, like, your friends are still your friends. Your life is still your life. And if you have trouble, imagine the same troubles.
Yeah.
You know, you might be broke. What if you're rich and broke at the same time? Like a lot of them are. Like, you know, and like I used to live like that. Like I used to, nice house, nice cars, nice friends, nice furniture. But man, we didn't have a lot of money in the bank.
Right.
It went out as fast as it came in. And you can get caught up in that lifestyle, and you know, and a lot of pro athletes and that do. But at the end of the day, when I came this close to bankruptcy, bro, I came this close.
Right.
I've never told anybody this. I came this close. I sat back and I went, wait a minute. Is this really anyone else's fault but mine?
Right.
I used to say I wanted to be in Afghanistan. Like, and I used to say, well, it's not like they hide the fact that you could get killed. or hurt. And so I volunteered. I wasn't a draftee, so everything up to that bomb and everything since is 51% of me.
Right.
Like, this is kind of did I talk about this last podcast?
I don't think so.
So, I tried to give myself leadership of myself, going back to leadership, right? So I was, Kelly and I had a million long talks. And it's easy to get into the whole who said what, who did what, this and that. And ultimately what I realize is my life, even if it's connected to someone else, is my life. Mm-hmm. And how I behave affects their life now. So why not maintain 51% voting control? Kind of like a board of directors, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I said, okay, I can give all these other factors 49%. 49%, whether it's the bomb, whether it's the X, whether it's the banks, whether it's my job, whatever.
Yep.
49%. Every other factor is 51% me. Mm-hmm. Or sorry, so all the other factors are 51% me. Even if someone stole from me, hurt me, lied to me, I put them in a position to do that.
Right.
With trust, with assumption, with mutually assured destruction. Maybe we had secrets on each other, but maybe they don't care if their secrets get out. And I'm not saying I have a lot of secrets. Like if you read my book, I don't hold back a lot.
Yeah.
And I also, frankly, life's a lot simpler if you don't bullshit.
Yeah.
Does that you've known me?
Yeah.
I don't really bullshit.
No.
It's just so much easier. Like, imagine having to remember a different line of lies or mistruths. I don't know if there's a difference.
Right.
Some people say not talking is not lying, whereas not telling someone who needs to know something, that's the same
Right.
fucking thing. I mean, man, try not to swear.
You're potty mouth, eh?
Oh, potty, yeah. So I examined all these things, people, situations, actions, and I said, well, okay, he did this, she did that they did this, but I put her in a position to do that. I trusted him to say that, right? Like all these factors came on it always. Guess what? I know you know.
Yeah.
But I'm getting you to, you're playing the audience right now. So,
sure.
So guess what happened when I decided to do this?
What happened?
My life got better.
Yep.
Like, I'm telling, look, guys, listen. Ready? This is how fast it happened. You feel better. The second you decide, like, I'm in control, your life's better. Mm-hmm. And people go, well, what about this? Like, you know what? If anyone in your life is toxic, even if you love them more than anything, you need to find a way to cut them out.
Right.
Even, I wasn't proud of this, and I had to tell some people in my life during my recovery and all that, like, I'm not never talking to you again, but we're not going to talk for a long time.
Right.
Because whatever you're going through, I can't deal with it with you.
Yeah.
And also, you're part of maybe something.
Right.
So whether it was bad behavior, even if it was just one bad decision you made with a friend, sometimes that's all it takes.
Sure.
You need to give yourself distance from the right people, which are often the wrong people and places.
Right.
And that's taking leadership and ownership of yourself. Like Jocko says, extreme ownership, it's not being a Navy SEAL. Jocko isn't awesome because he's a Navy SEAL. Jocko is awesome because even as a kid, he was like, I'm in charge of me, period.
Yep.
Now, you let others be in charge, but that's a decision in our part of the world.
Right.
And we are privileged enough, no matter what color you are, no matter what culture you are, no matter where you're from, no matter how you think, no matter what gender you identify as, whatever. You can do all that, first of all, because you're in Canada. Mm-hmm. Period.
Yep.
Like, I think like 90% of the countries in the world still have anti-gay laws. Like, don't even pretend to be a girl if you're if you're a transvestite or whatever. Like, don't ever go out in public. They will literally throw you off a building.
Yeah.
So so what do you want to project to the world? That being not normal is a burden or a privilege in this country.
Right.
Because, and I know it's hard. Like, and this is the other thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not asking you to just flip over and change the way that you think. What I'm asking you to do is try to put yourself in my shoes, or his shoes, or your shoes, or anyone's shoes but your own. Because I get this sometimes from people when I have conflict. They go, "Well, you don't know what it's like this." And well, you think I don't know what it's like to suffer? You think I don't know what it's like to have a tough day? Mm-hmm. Like, look, I'm not saying getting my legs blown off is my ultimate trump card, but at the same time, it kind of is. And then when I let it take over, my life sucked. Mm-hmm. It sucked. When I took on that victim mentality, and maybe it was being immersed in politics, maybe I don't know what caused the dominoes to stop falling in the right direction and then start going the other way. But once I recognized what was happening, even in my drug-induced stupor,
right,
things immediately turned around. Yeah. Like that day. And I'm not saying they didn't turn back every now and then. And like even yesterday, I got into an argument with someone because I was just trying to have a discussion, and they kept telling me I was uninformed. I don't know what I'm talking about. Where do you get your information? And I'm like, were you not just watching the same news broadcast, or like, did you not call me and ask me about the same thing? Like, I'm like, I don't like when you decide to turn around and say to someone like, you don't know what you're talking about just because you don't know me.
Right.
Well, why don't you tell me about yourself?
Yeah.
And then we can decide together whether or not you really have a tough time. Or maybe I'll give you a perspective that says, this is where it was with the argument. All I'm trying to do is give a different perspective. Mm-hmm. Because do you really believe Donald Trump is evil? Come on.
Right.
Seriously, guys. Yeah. Evil? Like Hitler evil?
Right.
Like Stalin? Like Che Guevara?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. What are we talking about here? Yeah. Do you really think Justin Trudeau meant to be racist when he colored his face? He just didn't get it.
Yeah.
Trust me. He gets it now. He gets it now.
Yeah, no doubt.
And if, because I've heard some people say, well, white people don't care if you paint yourself white. Well, in this part of the world, yeah, we don't care, but there might be parts where they care.
Right.
We have no idea. There might be parts of the world where white people are a minority and they hate getting made fun of.
Yeah.
I don't know where that would be. Frankly, I don't know. But we all know it's now, especially because the prime minister went through this. Like, we all know now, like, that's something we're not going to do in our country anymore.
Right.
And it goes both ways.
Yeah.
If something truly does upset people, like, you can't just dismiss it. Mm-hmm. But even that comes back to yourself. Why dismiss someone's point of view without even putting any thought into it? Well, hang on. If they're Nazis or ISIS or anti-human rights at the end of the day, sure. Yeah. Listen, man, like, you're cool and all sometimes, but the whole propaganda. Oh, like the kid in Germany, like, you can't hate the Jews, dude. You can't.
Yeah.
They're not all bad.
Yeah.
Sure, some of them are bad, but some of everybody is bad. But come on, really? We're going to shoot at people with shotguns down the street?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Nuts.
I'm kind of ranting right now, but I just couldn't believe that with 10 days left to the election, somebody's saying, if this guy wins, I would never work with him. And that's just what got me thinking about this, because I've been trying to figure out a way to be non-political, but still talk about politics.
Right.
How'd I do?
Yeah, I think
we didn't
so.
really
like,
get political there.
No,
we're more social.
I don't think so. Yeah,
we're more cultural.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I do want to round it out by saying there are certain aspects of every culture we don't need.
Right.
So that's a Pandora, or no, that's not a Pandora's box. Yeah, maybe. It's also just a can of worms.
Right.
That's, like, who's in charge of, kind of like the guy with the left, like this, like, we shoot liberals. Who decides what parts of culture are good or not?
Right.
Well, I mean, we all do.
Yep.
And I guess that's the ultimate message of today, is that if you are looking for someone to blame for your life, I'm not saying people can't rob, steal, hurt. There are moments where all factors take up 100%.
Right.
But then you got to come back and examine it and go, okay, well, is there something I could have done to prevent this? And or how do I keep it from happening again?
Right.
Like, just don't ever hang out with people like that again. Or don't like make those comments, or this, like, choose your audience. Like, yes, you have free speech, but that doesn't mean you're free to not get punched in the mouth
Right.
if you really go overboard.
Yeah.
And and that's another part. I think when I listen to politicians today, I'm like, oh, well, she's never been in a war, obviously. And by being in a war, I don't mean soldier. I just mean period.
Right.
Like, you've never actually there's never been conflict in your country bad enough for you to not say what you just said.
Right.
And expect not to get slapped in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the way they talk about each other now, like how, like they're, I'm starting to get political. All right, we're going to wrap it up there, I think. How long is that?
40 minutes.
Wow. Good luck editing that. So just a little update, everybody. This is the Jody Mitic Podcast. We are doing, this is the slow, what do you call that? The soft launch?
Soft launch.
Last episode, this episode, maybe 5-10 more episodes will be the soft relaunch. We're hoping to really have everything together with the audiobook and a mini tour through hopefully America and some Canada dates if you want. We are slowly rebuilding one step at a time, because what I realized is that I was doing too much too fast too often, and I had to dial it all back. And if I never want to recreate the conditions which led to my public meltdown, for lack of a better term, I have to be in charge. Mm-hmm. I'm in charge. If I don't feel it, I can't do it. Now, you make a promise, you got to keep it. But there's ways to make sure you don't make more promises than you can keep too. And that's where, having Kel around now, she's an amazing manager. She's very good at the administrative side of life. You know how much admin there is in modern life?
So much.
Like, between taxes, paying bills, and just keeping up with your kids' school. Like, I get more emails from my kids' schools now than anything. I get more emails from the schools than I get, like, junk mail in my inbox.
Yeah.
And so, if you guys are liking this, if you're not liking it, just don't be afraid to let us know. We are just, right now, we are spitballing. We have our hands on the wheel, but we're not really sure where we're driving, right? We're just kind of driving. We're not really going anywhere. We're just trying to maintain. Had a lot of fans out there saying, hey, when's the show coming back? When are they doing this? And we're trying to come back now. And, Luke was very patient, and you've all been very patient. And, I needed time for Jody, and but in the new year, lucky, it's the 13th year that I got blown up, so I'm calling it Lucky 13.
Yeah.
We're going to, like I said, we got a whole lot planned, but it's going to be one step at a time. And we've built a decent amount of followers, not just fans. You guys are followers and supporters, and we want to set out to be a better example. I want to be a better example as how to be an adult. How to take responsibility for your own life. And also remember, your family's lives are impacted by all your actions. That's the other thing about leadership, is you got to remember, like, to me, and I know I'm going back a few steps here, but when that guy said, I'll never work with them, I said, everybody that looks up to you now is less. Yeah. Everybody you represent now has that much less say, has that much less ability. Because now they're going to mimic. Well, he's not working with them. I'll never work with them. Well, these are fellow citizens around you. You could have 4 people in a room that all vote different in Canada. Mm-hmm. And none of you are going to talk to each other? Just because, politics? In Canada? You're going to... The biggest thing... Oh, this is part of the brown face, blackface thing. I said, the biggest issues in this election so far have been brown face, blackface.
Yeah.
And how many times did he do it? Well, I think once. Once is enough. You murder one person, you're a murderer.
Right.
You rob one store, you're a criminal.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
But regardless of how many... he only robbed one store and only shot one store clerk, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, what about these other ones? Well, you don't want to talk about those. Anyway, the point is, and the other guy was dual citizenship.
Right.
Oh, I feel like we're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's the other side, You hear the commercials. Oh, this government's cutting this, or these services are being slowed down. Well, how much taxes do you want to pay, guys?
Right.
You know, a part of all this is how do you pay for it? But anyway, back to personal accountability. Try and take 51% accountability for your life, no matter what. And it sucks. I'm going to tell you right now, it can really suck to look yourself in the mirror and be like, you did that. Because there's some actions now I think back on who at the time I was like, yeah, whatever, who cares? Or I didn't even think about it. And now I look back and I go, I can see the ripples.
Right.
My kids, my mom, my dad. Like, there's things that you sometimes think like, well, this is my life. No. Part of being woke, strong, independent individual is knowing your actions affect everyone around you.
Right.
You know, and if you're not a leader, that doesn't mean you don't have leadership qualities and or responsibilities. Everybody's responsible for something, whether it's your dog or your cat or the lizard or whatever. Trust me, there's some place in this world that relies on you and your actions in order to function properly.
Yep.
You know, so all that to say, guys, is today, tomorrow, and for the next week or two, just try and be more accountable in your decisions to others and mostly to yourself. If you have kids, think about the implications to them, to your parents, to your family, to those that you love, your wife, your husband, your partner, your dog, your cat. If you try 1% harder, and by 1%, it literally, you know what the difference is between a win and a lose in an election? 1 vote. You know what it means to win? 1 goal. What is 51%? It's more than 50. And that means that it's your 51% means it's majority. The majority decision is to go in a direction. And I want you to choose direction of positive and self-fulfilling, while also realizing that you are part of a team no matter where you are or what you're doing, especially in these countries that we call North America, some of the freest, most democratic places in the world. And you are in this country and you are in this place and you are able to listen to this podcast because of the groundwork that was laid before us. And just try to be a little bit better today and tomorrow. And it's not going to work every day and it's not going to work every week and you're going to have moments, but when you do have a moment of clarity, just look yourself in the mirror and remember you're in charge. You're part of the team. You're pulling on the same rope, whether you like each other or not. And for the Jody Mitic Podcast, I'm Jody Mitic. That's Luke Rowan. We are the good guys, and we're out.